That's what we want to hear. How you doing, Ced?
I'm doing good, Alita. How you doing?
Long time no see.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Yes, I was trying to figure out. I done mood and this lighting and trying to figure out. I think that's might be a little bit better. It's just you got it. Okay, maybe that. That look better.
It looks good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I know I just said this to you, but thank you so much for, you know, coming on sessions with Alita. We go a long way back. We about to give some people some history.
There you
But
go.
and our boy Root Dog is watching. Love you, Root. Still, keeping him in prayer and everything. So, um, Ted, what I like to do is start off, let people know about you. So, how was said in elementary school?
Oh wow, man. Bad?
That quite bad.
No, I wasn't bad. No, I'm elementary school. I was in Chicago, Illinois. I was just a regular kid in elementary school, just a boring square kid in elementary school, trying to get my education, stay out of gangs, and stay out of trouble. Pretty
Man,
much,
okay.
just a Chicago lifestyle.
Wow. What about junior high?
Yeah, high school. I think we moved out to California. I want to say in '79. So junior high school, I went to Charles M. Gady for a year, and then I think we moved. I went to San Brandon. So
Okay.
just a regular kid played basketball a little bit. Tried to get into sports and get accustomed to Sacramento life.
Yeah.
I went from there to Kennedy, and Kennedy I played football.
Mm.
Started DJing. I met a friend of mine, Mike Caraway, and Mike Caraway got me into rapping,
What?
and
You know this?
started. Huh?
I didn't know you
Yeah,
rap.
yeah. I had a rap group called the Poison Boys, which a lot of people don't know. We were probably the first rap group signed to a major label. Rap group was Patrick Debs, my friend Paul Sanders, and myself. We were managed by Clifton West, which is Dr. Cornel West's brother.
Oh, okay.
We're produced by Robert Brookins,
Oh,
and we were signed to Warner Brothers. But we ended up losing our contract kind of quickly. Patrick got jumped. Um, I think it was some kind of gang activity situation. He got jumped and got hurt real bad, and that was before gang banging on hip hop was popular. So Warner Brothers dropped the contract, pretty quickly, and that was the end of that.
oh,
So
wow. Wow.
yeah, so that was my introduction to music. But yeah, I met a friend, Mike Caraway, at a Gady school dance. And he was rapping, and I tried to rap with him, and didn't really know what I was doing. And he actually kind of helped me learn how to rap a little bit. And so, shout out to Mike Caraway, Mike C.
Oh,
And
wow. Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
so
So you
yeah.
moved from Chicago. At what age did you get to Sacramento?
Oh man, I can't even remember, but it was '79, so probably 14,
14.
13, 14 years old. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yep. Been out
So,
here ever since.
and you say you play sports, football,
Played
and everything.
football, played basketball, played basketball a little bit, but played football, played wide receiver at Kennedy.
Uh,
Um, didn't start, but played a little bit.
okay. Now,
Yep.
Root Dog said he remembers that. Yeah, he remembers what you just talked about with the group and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just learned that I didn't know you used to rap and stuff. Okay, cool.
Yeah. We had a group, actually three. Well, I started, my first group was a group called the Double Sensation, which was me and a friend of mine named Darren Blackwell, who went by Cloud Nine. And so we battled the Triple Threat Three a lot. Friends of mine, which was Mike C, DC Ray, and
Oh,
Bruce Knight. So we used to
wow.
have, when I was probably 16 or so, I had a nightclub called The Beat, uh, in Sacramento. So we had, shows that we put on at, just DJ shows that we put on there, and we just had different rap groups that, came in. So it's like three different groups that was kind of main groups here in Sacramento at the time, which was Triple Threat, the Double Sensation, and the Royal Mixers, and we put on shows. So
Mm,
that's how I met Marichelle and Rodney,
oh,
and we did shows together. And it was all friendly competition, but we battled, and friendly competition, and it way that we entertained and got our popularity.
wow.
So
And when
yeah,
did you start DJing?
that's how I started. I started DJing, and then I kind of transitioned to rapping. So I was DJing probably in 1980. And I don't know what made me pick it up, but it was just something I wanted to do and started doing that and got out of it. And now I'm back into it. So,
Oh, wow. Now, Ruth
yeah.
says, shout out Patrick.
Patrick Davis, Poison Boy. Yes.
That's a, okay. See, Ruth
Poison
be
Boy.
knowing. It's,
Yeah, no, Patrick Davis was dope. He was ahead of his time, man. Like I said, the little incident with the I really don't know the whole details of what happened with him that night, but he ended up getting jumped pretty bad and kind of messed him up, man. But Patrick was ahead of his time. He was dope.
okay.
Real good rapper, strong voice, real good lyricist. He was nice.
Okay. All right. So, man, okay. So, I done learned a lot. You from Chicago, you rapped and you did sports and, DJing and everything. So, DJing, you still DJ to this day, right?
Yeah, started DJing again. Took a long break when I had my kids and stuff, and then at that point in time, I started the magazine. So when me and my first wife, Stacy Bush, started the magazine, I stopped DJing during that whole time. And after the loop ended and got out of music for a little bit, kind of got bored, and I was like, oh, let me kind of play around with DJing again. And I started just doing some house stuff, and then put that online and it started kind of taking off. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to start doing this again. So kind of got back into it, and now I'm DJing. DJ probably like 2, 3 times a month at Thunder Valley.
Oh,
Thunder.
at Thunder Valley. Okay. Wow. So
And
let's
then
talk about, the loop.
okay,
How did that how did it come up to start the Loop magazine?
Loop magazine started. My ex, Stacy Bush. She was a writer, and she was a writer for the Observer. And I was into music. I was doing a bunch of music work with Robert Brookins at the time, and it was just basically combining our two loves. We just sitting around one day talking, and I had the love for music. She had the love for writing, and we just decided, hey, let's try to do a music magazine. We had ran into Tony, and I kind of got friends with Dwayne and Raphael,
Mm,
and they offered to give us an interview, and that's kind of how it started. So they were our first. We started the first magazine was called Request Line. So we
okay.
did that one to try to get an idea of what we were doing and
Mhm.
how to publish it and put it together. So it was just all, it's before the internet, so you couldn't go and Google and try to learn how, to do things. We just basically just did a bunch of reading and put Request Line together. So we did that magazine. We did first issue was a color cover and back, and everything else was black and white on the inside. And like I said, Tony was our first interview, which they gave it great interview. And I can't even remember who else was in the magazine. I think we did Rome. I think he was new coming out. We just was able to kind of get a few artists, and then we did some local artists. There was a local group called Adagio that we were working with. We kind of tried to do that to kind of bring in some local talent into the magazine and stuff. So we did, I think, 3 issues of Request Line.
Mhm.
Second cover was George Duke. And I can't remember who the third cover was. I want to say it was Erica Badu. I can't remember.
Now,
But
how'd you
yeah,
guys go about getting those interviews?
I just started calling labels. Start calling labels. Well, I met George Duke. I met George Duke through Robert Brookins. Um, I
And
was doing
rest
some
in
work
peace,
with
Robert.
Robert in LA, and so George was at Robert's house. I had got his card. He's like, oh, give me a call, and I was like, yeah, this ain't gonna go well. I'm gonna call and I'm gonna get the secretary and never get in touch with him. But sure enough, I gave him a call and he actually picked up. And I was like, whoa, okay, and I asked him if he remembered me. He said, yeah, I remember you. And I, told him what we were doing. And he gave me the interview. And then he actually gave me the person who was the publicist over at Warner. And
Mhm.
I can't remember his name right now, but he actually locked me into a bunch of the Warner artists. And then he told me a few other people to talk to, and it kind of spread it like that. Just from that guy, kind of got me into like Mercury and RCA. And so we kind of had a nice little inside edge. But the magazine at the time, we still didn't really know what we were doing at first. So we did like 3 episodes of Request Line. And then I was like, nope, we need to revamp this. So I started, reforming now the loop. And once we start putting the loop together, I actually start getting the right people in connection. So I tried to find somebody that I could work with, that I could trust in, New York, find somebody I could talk to in Atlanta. So it wasn't a situation where we had to, every time we were trying to do a story, we had to catch a plane and go somewhere. We just try to have people in place that we could actually deal with. And we end up meeting a young lady named Ann Brown, who was a writer for Essence.
Mhm.
She was a freelance writer for Essence, and she said, "Oh, I'll do some stuff for you." And she started sending me stories, and so she was, like I said, she was involved with Essence, so she was getting us the big stories that we needed to make the magazine relevant,
Mhm.
and it just kind of took off from there, which kind of grew faster than we needed it to grow because it outgrew us, but it got us in the doors where we were able to get the interviews with Janet Jackson and Bobby Browns and stuff like that. So it we were probably one of the only local magazines to interview Prince,
Wow.
which is, crazy. So,
I remember that.
it it took off, and it did really well. It just kind of outgrew us. It just the cost to publish the thing was outrageous, and we're a mom and pop, organization, so we're trying to do it from home and get the advertising dollars to basically fund it. And we got a lot of help from Young Black Brother Records, Daraka Shaheed. Shout
Yes.
out to him.
Yes.
Man, Daraka, I can't even count. Man, I mean, I owe this dude a lot. I can't even count how many times we couldn't go to press and Daraka was like, hey, let me know what you need and sent a check. So, shout out to Daraka Shaheed if you're listening,
Yes.
man. I love you, dude. Appreciate you so much. Man, he came through tons of times for us. So when we were doing the Mac Dre issue, he asked for the cover. I was like, man, hands down, no, 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 no worries. So yeah, so it was a struggle, but it was a lot of fun. It was a learning experience. When traded, we had a lot of good times. We worked with your, TV show. Helped a lot. I mean, it was just. I think we really kind of controlled the Sacramento market for a little while.
Right.
With the interviews and stuff, and everybody came here and they, checked out your show, checked out the magazine. So it worked. It was definitely
Right.
hand in hand. So I appreciate it.
How did you come up with the name The Loop?
The Loop is. I'm from Chicago, so there's an area in Chicago which is just famous called the Loop. It's downtown Chicago, but we just use it as a play on words. It's just basically saying keeping you in the loop. Get into it, which was all the slogan. Just trying to keep people abreast of what was going on. We wanted to be a magazine that wasn't putting out all of the negative stuff that was going on with the industry. We wanted to make sure that black people was recognized and that our culture was recognized. We would see artists, white artists and stuff that would pass away and stuff, and it's all over the news. And
Mm.
then we had artists like Rosetta Lenora, who was like the grandmother on like Family Ties. She passed away, and it was like hardly like a mention. But in our household, she was important to us. That was somebody who we knew, and we, want to make sure that, hey, this is being covered. These stories are being covered.
Mm.
So that was what the loop was about, just trying to make sure that, not trying to talk about everybody going to jail and all that type of stuff. We wanted to put the stuff out that was important, that, our people can recognize our artists and know what they're doing and know what's going on. We had a lot of artists like, like I mentioned, Rome was an artist that was coming out. He had a nice little song at the time, which was I Belong to You.
Mm.
Um, Song was all the radio, but no one was interviewing this guy. And we was
Mm.
like, man, this guy should be interviewed. We need to push him just like, they push, Kurt Cobain. So, that was the purpose of giving these young artists a shot to some kind of publicity without them having to break the bank to pay for it all the time. And that's kind of how the industry was run. Every time you do something, you had to shell out a lot of dollars
Mm.
to do stuff. So we were like the first to interview Rome. We was the first to interview Christian, the little R&B group that Jay-Z had put out.
Yeah.
We wanted to bring those artists out to get these artists into the limelight and make sure that they were covered, as well as covering the bigger artists that garnered the publicity, like the Janet Jacksons. Of course they're going to get it. We needed those for the covers as well, but we still want to make sure that if you're picking up a Biggie issue, then you got to see a Rome or a Christian or whatever, and then do and at least find out what these guys were about. So
Right.
that was the purpose. So that's what the loop was for, just basically, getting involved, getting into it.
Right. Just listening to you, well, first I'm going to go back to like, the record labels. Back then, it was so easy for us to contact those record labels and for people in the record labels to refer us to other people. You know what I mean? It was just a lot of networking back then. Networking and
Right.
support. You know what I mean? I remember, Priority Records and, like, Mike at Priority, he'd be like, Alita, you got to contact, blah, 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 and it was just like a domino effect on how we got our interviews. The record labels showed us a lot of love.
A lot of love. I mean, even like when I was trying to get this thing financed, I mean, I contact several of people to try to kind of get behind us. And the person who I probably should have contacted, I'm kicking myself now, thinking about it hindsight, was Master P. Master P was probably one of my bigger supporters. I mean, this man was putting out a CD probably looked like every day. And so when I went to my PO box to grab my publicity stuff, I mean, my mailbox was full and it was, no
Yes.
limit. And I didn't realize, the influence and the juice that he had back then. Now as I kind of, look, hindsight and look at it now, I said, man, that's what I should have been talking to. But I
Mm.
mean, this guy, I mean, no limit, advertised, for us, like crazy.
I got
Uh,
videos almost every week for No Limit, different
I,
ones.
I, I
That
mean,
was
I
my
got
first plaque.
CDs, probably still in the garage that I haven't even opened. That I mean, he sent so much stuff out. I mean, it's just you couldn't even. If I interviewed and covered everybody that he sent out, then the whole magazine would have been a No Limit magazine
Right.
because I mean, he put in work. So but leading from him, I got in touch with Cash Money, and then I started getting their stuff. I mean, it was networking, and like I said, it was no internet, so you're dealing with word of mouth, and the magazine just kind of had to stand by, you know, people reading it and accepting it as is it good or it's not, and we had two of the magazines that we were competing with here, but we were the only one that was doing like R&B and actually news. So
Mm.
we had 4080 that we had to deal with, and we had Murder Dog that we had to, deal with as far as
Right.
advertising. And then at the time we were starting, Vibe was starting.
Mm.
So, so I'm competing with these three and I'm trying to, stand ground with these people and Vibe of course was Warner Brothers back, so that was a big boy that you had to deal with, and so it was just a lot of work. But in order for it to keep wheels, it had to be industry people had to like it and continue to refer it,
Mm.
and that's kind of what happened. So we actually wrote good stories, and like I said, it wasn't a what you call them, the like it wasn't an Esquire type of magazine. It was, just real stories and, not with all of the drama.
right,
the scandals. That's not what we're trying to, put out. So
right. And your Loop magazine was like, Sacramento Funk, we got the major artists, but we also supported the local artists. You put Brother Lynch on the cover, Black Market Records and
right.
what other locals blessed the cover of your mag?
Only ones we had a group. They weren't from here. They were from the Bay. It was a group called Mac and AK.
Mm.
That was they had a real nice little CD that was out at the time. We put them on, and then at the time, Mac Dre. I mean, he was bigger, but he still was. We trying to get him out there, more, and then so we did a story on him, and then shortly after that, he was murdered and so forth.
You know,
And
you
actually,
remember,
the
yeah.
cover that we did for him of the magazine was actually his obituary. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Every time I saw Mac Dre was at Top Notch Records off of Florence.
I remember Top Notch.
And he used to always like, Alita, I'm coming on the show. I'm coming on the show. I never got the interview, but he always showed me love every time I saw Mac Dre. And his intention was to come on the show and stuff. So, but rest in peace, Mac Dre. But yeah, he always showed me love whenever I saw him and stuff. Now from every time you're right, we were always around each other, because, if you guys heard about somebody coming, if we, you guys would check with me. If I heard, I would, make sure you guys, and most of the
Right.
time the labels would have us both there anyhow, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, about that networking. Back then we looked out for each other. You know what I mean? I told, you guys came out first, the Loop. Then we had the 916 magazine came out, now, shout out to JDK, got the SAC Report magazine, but you guys actually, to me, I may be wrong, you guys really paved the way because,
Right.
we, we was there supporting, like I said, not only the major, but the locals also. Then you guys even did the celebrity basketball games.
Yeah, we did a couple. We did one here in Sacramento, which was cool. That one went well. Then the one we tried to do one in the Bay Area, and that one bombed, bad. There was something going on. Actually, Master P was supposed to be a part of that one. He had to pull out because, you know, that's just people just kind of hating. I don't know what they were hating on Master P at one point in time and stuff like that. And he was like, "Man, I got to pull out," and stuff like that. And when he pulled, then some of the other people kind of like pulled too. But yeah, we tried to do the celebrity basketball things. We did the first one here Kennedy, which was actually really cool. That was nice.
And that's where I
We had
met
Sugar,
Marvelous at. Because
yeah,
Marvelous,
Marvelous was there. Sugar T. I think Lynch was there. We had another guy. I forgot this guy's name, but the guy looked just like Tupac at the time. He was out there. I mean, it was a real nice, thing.
I know
Real
who
cool
you're talking
game.
about. Hmm.
And then we tried to do the little bigger one in the Bay, and that's when we kind of had KMBL back in it and stuff like that. But whatever that was going on with Master P, just kind of when he pulled out, some other stuff just kind of happened, and then some of the celebrities kind of like backed out, and so that one just, we ended up kind of like canceling that one like the day of and stuff like that. So. Yeah, we tried to do some events and stuff like that. You run into the politics of, event planning and stuff. We tried to do a Priority Records event here in Sacramento, which was a Paris, Ice Cube, I think it was EA Ski, Rally Rel, like a little listening party. And we had that set at the Elks Lodge, and the Elks Lodge pulled the plug on it like the day of the show, because they
Wow.
tried to say Ice Cube was a gangster rapper and Paris was a militant, you know. And so we had dealt with, Brian Turner came down from Priority, and he actually talked to the mayor. And we decided not to have the party. We were just going to have like a giveaway. We did everything to make sure the event took place, and it was just a situation where they was like, "No, we're just not gonna let it happen." Tried to make it seem like we didn't have the permits, but you go up until the day of before you shut everything down. So it's just, little, politics stuff like that that, you dealt with. And that always kind of put a bad taste in your mouth to make you don't want to do things and stuff. So, but when we're on the level that we were, which, like I said, is mom and pop. We're working out of our house, trying to put this stuff together. So when you spend that type of money and you lose that type of money, you don't want to do anything else in SAC for a minute, So so we went through some of those little growing pains and stuff like that, and those little things kind of happen, but that's part of the game. So.
Wow. The interviews you guys did, well, first of all, let kind of what was your role and what was Stacy's role?
So Stacy was the editor in chief, so she handled majority of the writing. I was the publisher, so I handled mainly the money in. I handled the advertisement, making sure that we got the ads that went in that kept the thing running. I set up majority of the interviews, with the artists. I took care of this. I was the liaison between the labels.
How'd you do
So.
the interviews? Did you sit in front of them or how to, you know?
We did interviews face to face with some people. We did interviews over the phone with a lot, because a lot of the stuff was out of town. And then, like I said, we had writers in New York. We had writers in LA. So Ann Brown did a lot of stories that, as she was covering for like the other magazines, she will have those stories and rewrite them for the Loop as well. And so we just submitted the stories, and so we just had a bunch of stuff coming in. We had a photographer in New York that covered a lot of events named Dave Goodson. So when Biggie was killed, he was one of the people that covered the Biggie funeral. So we actually have had actual coverage of the funeral, that only kind of a couple of the magazines, Source and I think Vibe had.
Mhm.
We were able to get these type of things. So we just got lucky just to have the right people that was in the right place that made the magazine relevant more so than some of the other magazines that we were competing with, that we didn't have the big boy money, but we were able to kind of get in the door with some of the big boys just because of the people that were associated with the other projects that was going on, and it just kind of helped us out. So
Yeah.
we were able to, so we were able to, interview some nice people that
Mhm.
our competition wasn't getting because just of the locations that we were able to be at and be involved with. And then we started getting calls. Once we, if you get Janet, in the magazine, then all of a sudden you'll start getting, you
Yeah.
know, the other bigger artists that, you're not expecting to get. You're like, oh, we got an interview with Mariah Carey. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Where, 4080 and Murder Dog wasn't getting it. Well, I mean, they wasn't that type of magazine either, but, they wasn't getting that. So
Mhm.
that helped us a lot and made us stand apart.
Wow. So when you interview people in person, who took the pictures and how did you guys have a record? Because remember, they're like you said, most of the devices now we didn't have. So how did you guys we
We
in
had,
person?
well, we had different photographers that we used. Dave Goodson was our New York photographer. He did a lot of our stuff. We had Tony Harvey here, Sacramento,
Mhm.
did a lot of stuff for us. Oh man, I'm sorry, people. Y'all have to forgive me. This was a long time ago. This was in the '90s. I'm trying to think who else we had. Oh my God, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm going blank. I can't think
So
of
did
all
you
the
guys, when you
photographers.
guys sat with them, did you record, like have a recorder or, and then write it out later?
Stacy did majority of the interviews. I'm not sure she really recorded any of the interviews. I think she kind of just talked to them and just took notes
Mm,
and wrote it. We were old school, man. I mean, like I said, we working mom and pop. We were working from pen and pad. I mean, take notes. We had Maximilian Kunitz, six, which was our hip hop writer. He would do some hip hop stories. Yeah, it was just taking notes and coming back and putting the story together. These Six was, he was a hip hop artist, so this was new for him. So he was writing, and then
Who was
he would
that?
take the story. Maximilian Kunitz, Six,
Okay.
the little
Uh,
rapper Six. So he was a hip hop writer,
uh-huh.
and so he would write the story, and like I said, he wasn't a writer that wrote stories. He was a rapper. So, but he would just write the stories, and he would take it and give it to Stacy. Stacy would take it and edit it and write it, like it, put it in the format that it's supposed to be. And, we did all the work. So a lot of late nights, a lot of, coffee all night long and, putting the thing together and then, go from getting all the stories written to trying to lay it out and get it to the printer so we can get it printed and sent to press.
Now
So it was
you said the rapper
stressful
Six,
enough.
right?
Hmm.
Let me tell you, I was at a rap battle, right? And shout out to Mr. G. I was talking to Mr. G, and he had recognized me from when Nico from Unknown did interviewed me, right? And then he told me where he was from. I said, "Oh yeah," and I mentioned Six, right? He said that's his son performing on the stage right now.
Yeah, yeah. See, Lil Six is rapping. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's doing his little thing. I haven't had a chance to see him rap. I talked to him once in a while. I haven't talked to him in a minute, but yeah, he's doing his thing. He's
yeah.
getting out there. He's trying to make it happen. So
I told him, I said, I interviewed your daddy, and stuff.
yeah,
And then he had inboxed me on IG. He goes, my dad said he remembers you. I said, I hope so, because I used to play the video. I say interviewing.
right. Yeah. No, I talk to him all the time. I talk to Big Six. I talk to him all the time.
Yeah.
He's
So,
doing
but
good.
no, yeah, but no, that was so funny. He was like, that's the son right there rapping right now on stage. So, but
Yeah, no, we had good times.
who was the artist or person that you was like when you guys were interviewing or got the interview, you was like, wow, kind of, I don't want to say we never really got starstruck because we always kept it business, but we had those wows, you know.
Mm. Karen White probably was our Karen White probably was our best interview. I mean, it wasn't the fact that it was just a great story. She just went real personal and real deep with her life. And it actually became a just a conversation. It went from it being an interview to just two young ladies talking. And I think Stacy and Karen probably talked probably about 2, 3 hours.
Wow.
Just a real good interview. She told a lot about her personal life. Um, you know, yeah. So that was probably um the you know interview that was just where it just kind of went personal. Of course, from me, the interview. I mean, I didn't interview her, but just the Janet Jackson interview,
I
of
knew
course,
you was
because
gonna
I'm in
say
love with Janet Jackson.
that.
So, so when we got a chance to do Janet, that was cool. Tommy Davidson was a good one.
Mhm.
We met Tommy Davidson, and Tommy Davidson just acted like we were like boys. So he actually took kind of took us around. We ended up going to like a show, and he just I mean, so we just it was just stuff like that. But we did a lot of interviews. The majority of our stuff was over the phone. Boys to Men was another group that we ended up doing a lot, and they were out almost like family. So anytime Boys to Men came, we were like invited, to whatever they were doing. Um, we did E40, once, which Sugar T, they treated us like family. So I mean, it wasn't a situation of starstruck. It's just you just kind of got to know people and just kind of seeing the way they were, just guards down, and it was like okay, it makes you kind of appreciate what you're doing a little bit more.
What about Prince?
Prince interview was done over the phone. Um, was done by Anne Brown. So we didn't actually talk to Prince,
Uh,
but it was done by Anne Brown. And then I don't know who sent us the pictures, but it wasn't our photographer, our normal photographer, but whoever sent the pictures sent us like a book of just pictures. And
mm.
that book, I had that book forever, and it got stolen in from a storage. So I'm kind of pissed off about that. But
Oh
yeah. But
man.
I mean, just some of the people that we met and some of the pictures that we had. I mean, actually, I just was doing some cleaning in my garage and I actually found a picture of Muhammad Ali and Magic Johnson, you know, and I remember, back when that happened. So, those, things like that, especially when these artists are, no longer here, that means a lot, found some of like Johnny Cochran, back in the day.
Yeah.
Things like that, it's just, so you start going back and thinking about it, you're like, man, damn, we talked to a lot of deep folks, so I
Yeah.
remember Tiger Woods,
Wow.
we talked to his dad, and when Tiger Woods was like a kid, like 6, so we got pictures of that somewhere. So, stuff like that. So
Yeah. Wow.
that's, those are things that, kind of just, we kind of go through. Then, we actually had stories that, we didn't put in. We actually talked to the people that were involved in the starting of Death Row. And we didn't um, go into that stuff. We didn't want to get involved in that. But, I mean, I've had interviews with, that side as well. So, we had a lot. We did a lot of stuff that, I look back on, it's like, man, I said the magazine should have blew up a lot more. I mean, we just really, if we did had the backing, it probably would have took off for like, but
Wow. Now, what about the
learning process.
locals? What about the locals? What do you remember about interviewing the locals? Like, who brings the most memories to you?
Definitely, Brother Lynch. Brother Lynch was a friend, so, definitely had to do him. And at that time, that was his, during his heyday, so he was definitely on the rise. Um, we wanted to get Lynch out because I felt that Lynch was a artist that was very important in rap music. We have rappers that come out, but then you have rappers that come out with a style that is their style that no one else was doing. And so Lynch at that particular point in time, that sickness, whatever he called it, was his style. And I felt at the time his, skill level was up there with like an Andre 3000, and he should have been on that level. So we definitely wanted to kind of get him out. And he just did a really, really good interview. I mean, like I said, me and this guy, we've been friends and, you know, known each other since the skating rink days. So to hear the interview and hear him talk about his personal battles and situations with his mom and so forth and stuff like that, it was different. So yeah, so that was definitely by far, you know, um, locally, the best interview.
I think I was kind of at first nervous of interviewing Lynch and stuff, because, the music and, and everything. But honestly, he's, he was on with Sac Funk a few times and stuff. He's a
No,
very
he's a good dude. I
quiet,
mean, just
he's quiet
you
and
know, yeah, he's a good dude. I mean, people. I
Mhm.
mean, the image is the image, and the
Yeah.
lyrics is the lyrics and stuff like that. But I mean, he's a good dude. And then just to, like I said, to kind of, I mean, like I said, I've been knowing this guy. We grew up together. He's been in my house. We Tecmo Bowl football playing days and stuff like that before Madden. We grew up. But he did the interview, and Six actually did the interview, which they rapped together. So it was good for him to kind of get it out. And he just actually kind of told like a deeper side that, I mean, I thought I knew, and really didn't know. And I was like, wow, this is so it ended up being a really, really good interview, really good cover and good story. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely the best, one of the best interviews locally.
Right. Did you ever get Homicide?
No, I didn't get Homicide. We really didn't get a lot of magazines out. We probably got, I don't know, maybe like 8 to 12 issues out, because like I said, just financing the thing. I mean, printing the magazines ran in the thousands, just to print a small amount. And we got picked up by Tower Records, which they distribute us internationally, which was great. But, trying to keep up with their demand, was costing us. So it took a while to get each issue out, because you had to keep trying to raise money to keep getting their demand so they can get the amount of magazines they needed to get in the stores and stuff like that. So we didn't get a lot of magazines out. So there was a lot of local artists that, I wanted to cover that, we really didn't cover. Um, I wanted to cover SIBO. I think we did a story on Marvelous, but, you know, she, needed to cover. We didn't get Zigzag like I wanted to. There was a lot of locals that we wanted to get, and we didn't get. X was in jail. Definitely wanted to get him at the time. Stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was going on with him with the, changing the laws and stuff like that. That we definitely want to talk to him about. And we just, didn't get a chance to get to everybody. We did get Mac Dre, and like I said, shortly after, he was assassinated, which hurt a little bit. Then his mom wanted to come and kind of talk, and I didn't want to keep. We did a cover with him on the cover for his situation, but when the death came out, we did report it, but I didn't want to keep harping on that because that's not what the magazine was about. Um, Same situation with Pac and Biggie. We were supposed to interview Pac like the day after he got shot, you know,
Mhm.
and so we missed him. We were there when Biggie was killed, so it's just a lot of timing issues, of stuff like that. So it's just, as a small mag, you try to cover these, things and be everywhere, and it's kind of hard to be there, everywhere at once and stuff like that. But we did get a lot, for the amount that we was able to put out, which was good.
Did you go to the shows, like the award shows and stuff, while you guys had the
We
mag?
did go to the Soul Train Music Awards a couple times. We didn't never made Essence. We didn't. Me and Stacy didn't go, but Ann did cover Essence for us. Um, I think we had some Grammy coverage that Ann was able to do because Ann was a freelancer, so she was getting.
Mhm.
She wrote for Vibe, she wrote for Source, and then she also sent stories to us. So she was able to cover a lot of these big events for us and stuff like that. So, but as far as me and Stacy, we did go to Soul Train a couple of times. Um, we were there when the whole Death Row stuff was going down at the Soul Train. We were there at the Peterson, like I said, the night that Biggie was killed. We had just left Biggie. I had just left Biggie,
Wow.
like maybe
I
15
didn't
minutes
know
before he
that.
was shot. Yeah.
Mm.
So we were covering a couple of events that night. We left the Peterson to Six was covering Coco's Ice T's wife's birthday party.
Mm.
So he was there. I had to go pick him up, come back. So we doing a van thing. So we covering events in van. So I got a big uh,
Mm.
sprinter van type of thing, and we're going around, trying to cover the stuff that we're there for. So that's kind of how we had to do things. And like right after I left to go pick up Six and head back to the hotel, we get a phone call probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours later that he was killed.
Mm.
So that type of stuff. So yeah, it's deep. And actually, we had to actually cover, change the cover because that cover was actually supposed to be Dr. Dre.
Oh, wow.
And so we actually ended up doing a double cover.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Man, stories,
A
man.
lot of history, yeah, a lot of stories.
So would you just had a, this hypothetical question. If you had like the funding and stuff, would you bring the magazine back?
Uh, I thought about it. I actually thought about it not too long ago, but I don't think the magazines generate the income that it used to. I mean, with everything now, internet and stuff based, um, I don't think people really pay attention to magazines like they used to. Matter
Yeah,
of fact, I can't even remember the last time I seen a Vibe. You know, just to kind of, or a source, to that point. I don't think that the magazines are doing, what they're doing. And not only, I don't think the industry is, spending the advertising dollars like they used
yeah.
to keep the magazine funded. So yeah, I probably wouldn't. I mean, if I could do something more so online,
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably do more of an online, magazine if it was a way that it could sustain itself. But to go out and try to do the print is too costly.
Mm. Well, you guys, I mean, you got two. I don't know if I like what people, well, I'm just gonna take it. They call it legends, and stuff, we put, the Loop was known as the Sacramento magazine, and I had the video show. And I remember, speaking of the magazines, I always look forward to the Loop and then to Urban Network. Remember Urban
Hmm.
Network
I remember Urban Network. Yeah.
and Hits magazine, those were like the industry magazines. Yeah, we had, the Murder Dog and stuff, but the Urban Network, they used to put like the video shows in there. They used to like, you know, I used to have to submit my playlist.
Right. Yeah. We remember the charts. Yeah. We needed the charts.
Yeah, the
Yes.
charts and stuff, back then with the fax. I used to have to fax my playlist to the record labels,
Right. I
you
remember
know.
them days. Yeah.
And I said this before on, here, I believe that I remember calling Rockefeller Records and Dame Dash answering the phone, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff, it just and I actually, the internet is cool. This is so much better, me being able to send a Zoom link and go live on Facebook and stuff, then upload it into YouTube and stuff. But I really enjoyed carrying, when I was younger.
Yeah.
The lights, the camera, going out, meeting people, and not only the who the record label sent out here, but also the locals, seeing the locals in front of the stores with their CDs, and we came from a good era.
It was a different time. I remember we did Jay-Z, and my cameraman wasn't there, which was I don't know if it was Tony or can't remember which one was supposed to be there, but the cameraman wasn't there. We did Jay-Z in San Francisco. I ended up shooting Jay-Z with a store-bought one of the store cameras.
Mhm.
I walked with Jay-Z. We walked all up and down San Francisco shopping.
What?
Yes, Jay-Z going into like Versace's just spending like money like crazy. But this was before he did his own thing. This was still Rockefeller days,
Mhm.
and when Jay-Z was young and just coming out and stuff. This was the time. I mean, we're walking up and down San Francisco and walking past people, and it's just like people just like walking past us like like nothing. So that's how far back the loop was
Mhm.
back in the day. So matter of fact, I found a picture of that and I was sitting there laughing. I said, man, I actually took this man's picture with a camera that you use like on the accident scene. But
Mhm.
we had to get his picture.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just but you just did what you had to do to get it done. But it was fun, and it was like I said, you're learning at the same time, and you're trying to grow. And the relationships that was built, during that time and stuff, kind of help us sustain the magazine, like I said, we talked, kicked it, we saw the show and hung out. And when Christian was coming out, we were like the first people he called. And,
Mhm.
we interviewed them guys and they actually played in the celebrity basketball game.
Mhm.
And, I mean, I really wish, they had did a little bit more too. They were a really nice group.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so that's just kind of the business.
Were you guys
And
the first ones to do the celebrity basketball games here?
I don't know if we were the first ones, but I don't remember anybody trying to do any before. But I mean, someone probably did. But
Mm. for the with
Yeah.
the local like local artists and stuff like that. You know, I know later on, shout out to Adrian Ross, he started doing his, Matt Pack. No, no, no. What was what's Adrian's? I forgot. Hope he don't. I hope he not listening. He'll kill me. Um, but yeah, Adrian started doing a celebrity, also too. But every time, I would go to his, I would think about how, you guys did that one and, Marvelous and stuff like that. And I know Terry Moore's done, some
That's some stuff,
also,
yeah.
and everything. So now, before I let you go, where can people I mean, you said you're playing, where do you DJ at?
I'm at Thunder Valley. I DJ out at Thunder Valley anywhere from 1 to 3 times a month. At Illusions nightclub.
Mm,
Um, that's and then I'm kind of like a guest DJ at Powerhouse in Folsom every once in a blue moon.
okay.
So they have two regular DJs. So if like one of those DJs call out and I'm available, I'll go out there. So
Do
that's
you
about
do like
it.
weddings and stuff like that or
I do
parties?
weddings, I do everything. I
Okay.
was Club Nouveau's tour DJ for a while.
Oh, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was doing that for them for a little bit. I'm working on some music and stuff now that I got some stuff out. I got some stuff out on Spotify, so go check out DJ Cedric Martin on Spotify. I got some R&B stuff out right now, so
What do you
check that out.
mean? You mean like a
I have
mix
some,
you did?
no, I have some songs out actually right now. I'm writing songs. I don't know if you know, my wife passed away last year about this time, um,
Sorry.
March 30th. So started writing songs for her. So I'm doing some AI created songs. I'm not singing, so don't nobody get the idea that I'm singing,
That's what I
but
was
I'm just
going to
writing.
ask. I said, wait a
No,
minute.
no, no, no. No, I'm writing and then I'm using the AI to create the music, but I'm actually having the songs available for sale. So, but they're actually out, for purchase right now, like on Spotify and iTunes and all that type of stuff right now. So there's some nice stuff though. Got a
Mm,
song out right now called "The Scenic Route to Nowhere" that I think Samuel from Club Nouveau is gonna actually take over and redo.
okay.
So I'm looking forward to that, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
So anybody out there, please go DJ Cedric Martin on Spotify. Check it out. Got some nice stuff out there. Check
Well,
out Dripping.
is there anything else that you would like to, say or talk about before we end this?
No, I just appreciate you having me on and definitely reliving some of the history, that we have out there. Definitely want to thank, everybody you know, that work with me with the loop. I appreciate each and every, person that kind of work with the magazine. You guys made it fun. Definitely, it kept us, going. I appreciate you because, yes, there was a lot of times people would come into town. You would get on the phone, call me or Stacy and say, hey, so and so is coming to town. Mac, what's his name? What's the Mac 10, was coming into town. You
Yeah.
had us, meet Mac 10, and stuff like that. We ran down and met with him, that type of
On
stuff
a
like that. I
on a
mean,
102.
102, yep, yep, 102. So I mean those things like that, man, because like sometimes you don't get the call, and then if you were able to kind of, you know, send it our way or vice versa, it helped the show, it helped the magazine. So we definitely should have just had a business together and made that work because we definitely, worked together. So I appreciate you and everybody that was involved. So definitely thank you so much and definitely thank you for having me on.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like I said, I'm trying to put together a recognition show. Like I said, I just feel that so many of us that, from back in our times before the internet, me carrying the equipment, you guys, like you said, with having to go buy like the cameras and, do writing stuff, by hand and all that stuff. We paved the way. But I just feel like sometimes that we are, left out of the music history conversation sometimes, and I want to bring back and remind people, the people that did pave the way like you, the Loop magazine, and, even though you did the major stars, you were still a Sacramento magazine, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, even though I did, interview major stars, I still supported the local. Like I said,
Right.
if I saw them in front of the store with their CD, I tell them, I'm not buying your CD, but I put you on TV, and I did.
That's right.
It's just like, yeah. So, and I just feel that I just want to pay homage to everybody. So, the show that I'm trying to put together, I just had a meeting last week with some people, um, paying homage to everybody, like Shadow with the van.
Hmm.
You don't see no vans rap no more. you
Right. I
you
remember that.
feel that. Yeah, the Miko, everywhere you went, you saw Miko stuff plastered on poles, on all types of stuff. You know what I mean? And like, Root Dog, who's watching right now, he one of the pioneers,
Pioneer. Yep.
and stuff. And his brother doing, Sacramento magazine. But we need, I want to recognize people while they're alive. Now we already lost some people, Homicide, Big Al, and I was just saying that Ebro, I remember Ebro, he
I
hosted
remember
the show.
Ebro from back in the day.
Yeah,
And
they did the Future Flavor show. They kind of fought for Ebro and Big Al. They kind of fought for the local music to be played on 103, 102. You know what I mean?
right.
It was late at night sometimes, but they gave local artists like a chance to get their music played. And I think the biggest thing was, what they have trouble with now is clean versions,
You're right. Right.
you know,
So
and stuff, and then, Sub Zero, you know,
yep, Sub Zero. Yep. I see him on Facebook all the time.
you know,
Really.
you
Yes,
know,
sir.
yeah, Pioneer, and with the premier, record stores. But I just want, while the rest of us are still here, just give everybody their flowers, recognitions and stuff like that. I was blessed to do T Nutty's first interview, you know.
Nutty. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I remember we was in what was it, Dimple Records off of Arden?
Remember Dimples. Yep.
I don't even know who told me to interview him. I didn't know who he was. I might have been Big Rock, you know. And I remember I had the camera, and T Nutty's being T Nutty back then. And I remember I put the camera down and I said, "Well, you act like you on BET or MTV." He still did what he did, and I aired it. Then we then when I was interviewing Houston, remember the singer Houston? That guy was just
Remember
died.
Houston? Yeah, I remember Houston. Yeah,
T Nutty
great
said to
artist.
me, he goes, I saw myself on TV. Can we please do another interview? And we sat down at the Peach Cobbler and did the very best. I mean, everybody was calling, loving that interview. You know what I mean? So I love that I was part of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
The artist, now I guess it's kind of like, I don't want to say artist development, but being there saying, and I'm still close to T Nutty, Sugar T 40 and all them, you know what I mean? But being there for the interviews and stuff. Shout out to Big Ol' Meezy,
Big
too.
on easy. Yep.
You know, he's the one that called me on a three-way with 40, because I had interviewed the other sick with it, the other clique, the Mossy.
Right. I
And I,
remember I did Mossy. Yep.
yeah, so but we were just there during those times, and my joy was the locals, honestly. Doing those interviews with Lynch, when I cut the camera off, having those conversations, that I couldn't put on.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. Some of the
you
stuff that
know,
we can. Yeah, some of the stuff that we can't put out. Right.
yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? And shout out to Black Market Records,
Yep.
also,
Seven Singleton, Rod Singleton. Yes, sir.
yeah, but there's so many people that we had, like, Triple Beam Crisis, the record Mixela, it's just, there's just so many people that I just, why are they still alive? Want to give them their recognition. Let them know we thank you for being part
Well,
of.
I appreciate you doing this, and bringing this back out, because this is definitely cool. This definitely remind me of the good old days. So,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yes,
most
sir.
definitely. So, and that's why I have made a post. Look, if y'all was ever a guest on Sacramento Funk or on the Real Music Videos, please contact me because I am putting something together where I want to give everybody their recognition, flowers and stuff. Ain't gonna be no award show. I ain't got no award money. It's just, everybody just getting together and doing what we doing here. You know what I mean? But giving each other the props that everybody so deserves. And I'm going to give you your props too. And I hope to, and I'll keep you posted on the date and location.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. All right. And then y'all, but shout out your handles. How to get in touch with you.
Oh, I'm on Facebook, Instagram,
Under what?
um, at DJ Cedric Martin,
Okay.
all together. At DJ Cedric Martin.
All right. And don't be hitting my family up with no lowball offers. Okay. Y'all pay him what he's worth.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. But
All
just come out and see me. I'm at Illusions. Come out and see me. Come out and have a drink. Come
right.
out.
Okay.
Illusions is free.
And
It's
that's
every Friday and Saturday night at Thunder Valley.
at Thunder Valley.
If I'm not there, my other DJ friend will probably be there because he's the resident DJ, which is I don't know if you remember DJ Thomas Alexander, DJ Tom Tom. Do you remember him?
Mm-mm. I
Okay, yeah, he's
don't remember.
so well he's out there also, so he's like the main DJ out there, so he'll be out there majority of the time, and then I'm out there a couple of nights, and then we have a couple other DJs out there. So come on out to Illusions. It's a nice little spot. Can't play no hip hop unfortunately, but
Oh, what
you
kind of
know.
music is it? R&B?
It's R&B. It's open format. We just can't play the hip hop. They try to just kind of keep the
Yeah.
cussing and all that type of stuff out of But we still play a little. We play some dirty stuff, but we just can't get real crazy. So
Before I let you go, what do you think about that trail ride music? Have you heard of it?
yeah, I like it.
The
I
surf
DJ'd the
songs?
Crawdad Festival here the last couple of years,
Hmm.
and so that's pretty much the format, the Southern Soul Trail Ride music. So that's pretty much what we play. So I have a whole bunch of that in my library. So that's pretty much what we play the whole time.
Yeah, I interviewed Squirt Kelly too. I told him I was trying to get FPJ. So
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know if
yeah,
you
no, it's
I don't know
it,
if
it's
you
cool.
on to them yet. Big Bo,
Um.
FPJ. I'll send it to you. You're gonna love it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me check it out. Yeah,
So
definitely.
all right. Well, you have a great rest of your evening and I appreciate you and you're welcome anytime to come on.
All right. Thank you, Alita. I appreciate it. Good seeing you.
Okay, good
And
seeing
thank
you.
you again.
All right. See you later,
All
Seth.
right. Good night.